He just proved out the words that we read just before that Dale stepped up here. The words that we read that says, for taking away our trial by jury, for transporting us beyond our shores. These words are still alive today, my friends. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. I want you to pay particular attention to this next sentence by itself. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity. And we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They, too, have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome to the stage a lady who loves our children because she loves education. Her wonderful organization is called ROPE. Welcome, Jenni White.
Good morning. Well, you know, it doesn't even really matter who I am. I'm a nobody. I'm a nothing. I'm just a mom who woke up one morning and realized that her children were learning no American history or civics in their public school. And my world had changed completely before my eyes before I knew anything about it. I have a feeling it was probably for that same reason. But granted, I wasn't the only one that woke up suddenly in 2008. Who could forget all the media attention of the Tea Party rallies from here to Washington, D.C.? It was an absolute tidal wave of citizens across the country who flocked to these tea parties where they could yell and scream about all the recent usurpations of their liberties and our freedoms. But then, many took up only yelling at the TV as their only source of political action outside of voting. Here in Oklahoma, though, some of us joined a local Tea Party or other liberty-minded groups, such as the OKC 912 or the Tulsa OKC 912 Projects, OKPAC or OK Save. We listened to speaker after speaker talk about the destruction of our individual liberties in this country once brimming with opportunity. Even more of us had to learn how our government worked because we didn't even know about the process by which a bill is passed. A few, like me, formed their own organizations to research and write and educate other citizens about our loss of liberties through the rise of government bureaucracies, many of them not even under our elected officials' control, such as fusion centers, Agenda 21, and Common Core state standards. In fact, the more educated I became, the more angry I became. I simply could not understand how my elected officials were letting this happen to me. How could they take my freedoms away from me? But then I realized something, and the biggest education I ever got was that I'm doing it to myself. I am the people. We are the people. You know, I'm ashamed to say this, but this building behind me until, about 2008, I had never entered this building but maybe one time on a school field trip. I voted in every election I could, but I had no idea who my representatives were or how to contact them, so I just flat didn't. You know, once it occurred to me that I actually had no choice but to communicate with my elected officials if I wanted to keep my liberties, I studied up on education. I walked resolutely through that door behind me, and I introduced myself to my elected officials and stated my concerns. Now, I have to say, I was nervous. I mean, after all, this is an imposing place, and these hallowed halls are filled with elected officials who know more than me. Well, guess what I found out a little later than you people, apparently? They're not. In fact, many of the legislators in this building know nothing about some of the topics that are plopped down in front of them in a bill, and they're certainly not, except from the Chamber of Commerce or a lobbyist, and they don't have your personal best interests at heart, I can tell you. So if they get the information from a lobbyist or from the Chamber of Commerce and not from you, who are they listening to? Look. Truly, the men and women who occupy the building behind us, they're not better than you or I. Don't forget, taxpayer and elected official alike are all created equal. The legislators who work inside this building are hired by the people to serve the people, representing the wishes of the people in their government in a servant role. In the 3 years since becoming president of ROPE, I've been inside this building now countless times. I've spoken to legislators in hallways, offices, the infamous Senate and House lobbies from whence the term lobbyist came. I've been yelled at, lied to, been called a liar, chewed out, and ignored by more elected officials than I ever knew even existed prior to 2008. I have, however, also met a number of legislators and elected officials who are warm and welcoming of my opinions and thoughts, and who do the very best they can every day for their constituents, and not only them, but for the state of Oklahoma. Thankfully, these are becoming more numerous as voters awaken and realize there's more to being a good legislator than a D or an R behind your name. So here's my advice to you, and I had a great teacher, Amanda, so I've learned from the best. Here's my advice. Immediately, today, if you don't know who your representatives are, you find out. Now, during the summer and fall, while they have more time during a legislative session when they're sitting there trying to read 25 bills a day, ask them to meet with you. Call them up. Invite them for coffee, for example. Learn about their interests and their family. Talk to them about yours. Tell them your ideas about how government should run. Lewis. I want to introduce you to somebody. This is my soon-to-be state representative, Lewis Moore. He is actually the next door neighbor of a very good friend of mine, but he and I actually met several years ago at a meeting when I simply walked up and introduced myself, and we had a discussion. Over the course of the years, he and I have become acquainted, and we've worked together on a number of issues. Lewis has my cell phone number, and I have his. And in fact, just to let you know, Lewis, along with many other representatives, will give you their cell phone numbers. How many calls do you get, Lewis? Not very many. People don't even bother to call. So when I have a question or I need help, I text Lewis or call him. And thank you, Lewis, for your help. I really appreciate you being here. Now, after you have met your legislator, keep in touch with them, particularly during the legislative session. Just because you went out for coffee in the summer, what, they're gone in January? Let them know how you feel about the bills that are being examined by the legislature. Now, how do you do that? Well, a great way to do that is to sign up with one of the groups over here. You see these tents here. You have OKC 912, Tulsa 912 Project, OPAC, ROPE. We all have email lists, and if you're interested in the bills that are coming before the House and the Senate, and you would like to know which are good and which are bad and what kind of action to take on them, then sign up. We'll tell you exactly what you need to do if you'll just sign up. Now, as you come to understand this morning, and I hope become very angry about, we are at a crossroads in this nation. Complacency will not steer America back on her course. Only active and informed citizens can man that boat and turn that wheel. Now, in that vein, I leave you with a quote from the then Congressman James Garfield, who gave the congressional address on the 100th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence in 1876. Listen closely to his words. Now, more than ever before, the people are responsible for the character of their Congress. If that body be ignorant, reckless, and corrupt, it is because the people tolerate ignorance, recklessness, and corruption. If it be intelligent, brave, and pure, it is because the people demand these high qualities to represent them in their legislature. If the next centennial does not find us a great nation and pause to reflect on that notion, it will be because those who represent the enterprise, the culture, and the morality of this nation did not aid in controlling their political forces. God bless you. Be active.